Terence is a top producing regional coordinator. He's hit the charts and he's always in consistent production. So it's not a shock that you're hearing from him again. And Terence, one of the things I wanted to kind of focus in with you on was timing. I think it's something that is great when it happens in somebody's business. You know, when we're talking about customer acquisition, rate might be good, something in the market changes. There's a lot of factors that are out of your control that can all of a sudden change, and then it's great timing for your business and to gather customers, and that's kind of what we're experiencing right now. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your perspective on the timing that we're in right now.
Yeah, first off, thanks, Dom, for having me back. In terms of timing in the marketplace, I think we're positioned really well. If you look at where energy's been for the last, you know, I mean, even leading back to the end of last year, it's just been super high. And since that massive spike, we've been positioned to save people over the last couple of months have been over 60%. This month, I think we're around 50. So even though we're not the lowest rate, on electricity right now, we're still providing massive, massive value to customers. And I think if people are just focusing on, well, last month our rate was slightly lower compared to this month, it's out of our control. There's absolutely nothing we can do. And Zoom Energy has professionals that all they do is forecast and price predict. So they're fully aware of where the market is at and where we need to be, hyper competitive without, giving away everything. And especially with how the bonus structures are stacked right now, like they're putting a lot of money up front to get these customers, right? And we're the lucky beneficiaries of that generosity that ACN's, backing Zoom Energy with. But the simple matter of the fact is this is energy. It's a commodity that everybody has to use. So the price, there's only so much you can really do, right, without losing everything or without having to restructure the comp plan and all that stuff. So whatever the rates are, I'm grateful for. We're saving some people 50%. Those people are the right customers for us right now. They're going to be super appreciative of everything that we do for them, and they're happy, we're happy, Zoom's happy, and the residuals keep flowing, and it's a beautiful thing. And right now with gas, we're very competitive on gas, especially with our fixed rate compared to, I mean, yeah, regulated is slightly lower, but they have a higher admin fee. And then as we continually scale into our winter months, just historically speaking, variable will still have their higher months and their forgiving months, but it just so happens coincidentally that their higher months are always your highest consumption months also. So they figured this out for decades. They know what they're doing, right? And just like how Zoom Energy knows what they're doing, they're providing a fixed rate that's going to help people over the long term, right? And if you look at the open market for energy, gas is expected to go up in Alberta year after year after year incrementally. So you may not see the true benefits of what you're getting right now, but over time, over the next 2, 3 years, you'll be grateful that you have a lower rate than a lot of people on the open market. And then more for renewal, then it's back to comparing apples to apples, right? And so one of the things that I appreciate most about Zoom Energy outside of the extras and rewards and all that, fun stuff, is from a price competitive standpoint, they're always going to be competitive when you're comparing either open market or renewal. And that's really important to understand for new IBOs, because if you're doing a lot of comparisons and you're coming across the fact that, a lot of these rates are 3 years old, 4 years old, almost coming up for renewal. And right now you may not be able to earn that business, but be super optimistic and grateful that you have a massive list of people that you can follow up with in the weeks and months to come. Because as they come up for renewal, now you're going to be competitive. Now you have an open, honest opportunity to earn their business. And then even if the numbers are break even, or even if the savings aren't enough for the customer to be like, yeah, this is really a great deal from a price point perspective, now you have the opportunity to introduce all the extras of Zoom rewards and the free gift cards that you've received, and the PlayStation games that you can trade in your points for, and like all these extra things that no other energy retailer is providing. And if that doesn't really get them, a little excited, then ultimately the big thing that I always think is, and I learned this from ACN and the system that they've developed really is that, you know, I'm your agent. Please allow me to be your first point of contact if you have any questions or concerns. And that element of the customer experience, I think, is what is most valuable above and beyond saving a few dollars every month. That's cool. Earning some Zoom coins every month. That's fine. But when I have a problem with my bill, if I have something that I don't understand, do I have to go through the traditional hoop of explaining myself 5 times through customer service? Or can I just call you? And letting people know that, like, I'm your one stop shop, and if there's something that I can't help you with, then I'll, help you escalate this appropriately and we'll get a resolution within a few days, right? Giving the customer that peace of mind. I think the long-term business model that we have with ACN and Zoom Energy is that these are the customers that will stay with us through high times and low times, good times and bad times, because they're not chasing the dollar value. They want that relationship behind it. They want to have that go-to person that they can always, ask any question and feel like they're getting some type of resolution right away instead of having to go through the traditional hoops of frustration and repeating yourself over and over and over again.
That's awesome, Terence. I got a lot that I want to tackle just within what you've said there. The people that are listening, if this is the first time they're hearing you, I think their first reaction will be, "Holy smokes, this guy knows a lot about energy." So, can you just briefly tell us how long you've been in the energy industry for, and your experience in the energy industry, just so people have a little bit of a an idea of your background?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been in energy, I guess now 5.5 years, coming up 6 years. And I fell into the energy industry, actually. The opportunity to get into the energy industry fell into my lap. Funny enough, my sponsor in ACN, his name's Richard. My sponsor in that other energy industry was also Richard. And I joke around with my
Hey,
sponsor right
was
now
your
saying,
upline named Dom too?
no. But yeah, so I actually wasn't looking to get into energy, came across an opportunity with a company that was always kind of neck and neck with Zoom Energy. So I already knew of Zoom when I got into my previous company, but it was just a timing thing where one Richard contacted me like a week before the other, and I already signed up, so I figured, I'll just go with whatever I already committed to. But to make a long story short, these two companies, Zoom Energy and the previous company, they were always neck and neck. And so I always knew that there was competition out there that was tight. But this other company, their whole thing was about, we have the lowest offer, period. And I thought that sounded like a great advantage to have, in your back pocket from a corporate level. Not having the understanding or foresight to see that, well, what if things change, right? Because traditionally in the Alberta energy market, energy's been very consistent for decades. There's never really been any changes, so to speak, any massive changes like what we've seen in the last 2.5 years. And so when I was with that other company, I learned a lot about, like, why that company was the cheapest and how they were able to do what they did. But a few years ago, a lot of things changed. Ambit was the previous company. They were bought out by Vistra Energy, which is a much larger energy company in Texas. I believe Zoom Energy went through a similar purchase where a company called NRG bought 49% of the company. And that right there is the first major difference between the two executive teams, where Ambit was sold solely to this other organization, where ACN still holds controlling rights of Zoom Energy. That is massive. That is absolutely huge after going through what I went through with my previous company, because now I know that ACN has our best interest in mind. not necessarily what corporate has in terms of, how much money they could have made extra if they had sold the additional 51%. And so, but what I've learned through the process is, energy in Alberta historically has been very, very calm. So in the past, we were talking about residuals that were, quite frankly, peanuts. You're talking about like 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, a quarter. Ooh, Whereas with Zoom, it's like you have an opportunity to make dollars. Like, I mean, and everything all relative, like value is still given to the customer first, which I love. We still get to make some money, that's decent. You still have to be at scale, but you don't have to be at a, you know, ridiculous scale to make some decent income. Um, and then just the bonuses that Zoom is putting together and the fact that they're extending it for September, I'm so, so grateful because I've never seen something so lucrative being given before in terms of how much money the company is technically paying per customer. If you calculate it back out, like they're putting in a lot of money that this is what traditional advertising looks like, right? Millions and millions and millions of dollars are put into advertising just so people know the name, right? But what we have through Zoom Energy and ACN, not only just upfront bonuses are amazing, but again, the residuals, right? And we live in a province where, again, super grateful, dual commodity, so power and gas. And right now, as we get into the colder months, I actually really appreciate Alberta's weather because it directly impacts my bank account. And so, I don't wish for it to be minus 40 or anything crazy like that, just a cool -5, just so as long as your furnace is on all day, it's all good, you know? And so yeah, with regards to energy, Dom, like the last, handful of years, I've seen the market go from calm to uncalm. And the biggest difference between what I've seen with my previous company and Zoom is that Zoom is committed to being in the marketplace. They're committed to the customer base. They're committed to the IBOs that are putting their reputations, on the line to build this network, for ACN. And so I'm super grateful for from so many different angles that we have this in our back pocket. And it's no wonder that we're getting so many people coming into Alberta from a different province specifically just to build Zoom Energy. So for anyone that's listening to this, if it's your first time hearing this and you're like, what's Zoom Energy? Get back with the person that invited you because there's a lot of money on the table. And I just want to throw this in because I'm remembering it right now. I saw a meme yesterday of Jay-Z, and the message was the money's already printed. You just have to go get it. And that applies to us right now. So
Nice, nice. I talk in meme as well, so that's my second language. And I agree with you. Zoom Energy is a fantastic opportunity, and the timing's amazing right now. And I also agree that one of the reasons why I too joined ACN was the business acumen of ACN, the decisions that they make, that they're long term, they're smart decisions, and that they're not only great for the IBO but for the customer, and they're for the long term benefit of the company, and as a result, a long term benefit of the customer too. I've asked you a couple of these questions to lead up to this one because I think it's uniquely uh, yours, and you can speak on it better than I believe anybody on our team. And it's because of your perspective, also the background that you've had for 5 years. But what I'd like you to do now is let everybody know on the call how to prepare for timing. Because from what I see from your experience, some of your results, not all, but a portion of your results are the result of being prepared, knowing the energy industry, understanding rates, being able to articulate that, being able to explain that. When somebody new that's joining ACN, I can imagine that they may feel a little bit of fear, like they're going to lose out or miss out. The timing is now and they don't know enough. And what I'd like you to do is speak to the brand new person and give them some very practical bullet points on how to prepare so that when it's time to perform and the timing hits, that they can execute right away without fear or hesitation. So what are some of the things you can remember over the last 5 years that allowed you to prepare so that when those moments of timing hit in the energy industry, you executed and the results were massive?
Okay. If you're brand new and energy is, again, brand new to you, even though you've been paying an energy bill for years and years and years, from an opportunity standpoint, I would say practice your question, because it really boils down to what questions are you asking of people, whether if you know them or if they're brand new, when you're meeting them in public. And if you're in energy, then a normal question would be to ask, like, hey, if I could help you save some money on your energy bill, would you be interested in having a chat? I can't promise them anything, but at least I'm asking the question and doing my due diligence to put the offer on the table. Whether if their response is positive or not is that's up to them, and then I fully respect their decision at that point in time. If they seem like they're like, "Ah, I just renewed, like now's not a good time," or whatever XYZ reason, if they're okay with me saying, "Well, is it okay if I follow up with you, just before your renewal to maybe go over some options?" And if they're like, "Sure," then great, just set it in your calendar and then set it and forget it, because the alarm will remind you. Um, and then for those who are brand new IBOs looking at this from a business opportunity, again, practice asking the question like, hey, if I could show you a way to make some money on your own energy bill, would you be interested? Right? The simplicity in that is that it's duplicatable by anybody. The challenge in it is, does that individual have the inner confidence to say it, smoothly? And that's why I say practice it, because once you practice it enough and it just kind of flows, your first few, tries, you may feel like, oh, maybe you fumbled, but by your fourth or fifth, you're probably flying through this, realizing like, oh, it doesn't even matter if I make a mistake or fumble when I ask because they don't know any different, right? But your excitement level is what will captivate their interest. It's what will really pique them. And so again, the reason why I say practice is when you say it with confidence, there's conviction. People hear the tonality, the excitement in your voice, and they're just curious. They're just like, what are you talking about? Because the only responses you're going to get are yes, of course, tell me more, or maybe, depends, what's this all about, or no. If it's a no, then okay, again, great, not the right person right now. But if it's a maybe or if it's a definite yes, then invite them to more information. And the skill set of mastering the invite is kind of the key to accelerating the repeat cycle, because now you can invite a ton of people to any weekly meeting and just flood that meeting. You don't care who shows up, who doesn't, because you've invited so many people, you may have even lost track. Right. That's kind of the goal, is to be in so much action mode that like you forgot to follow up with someone to double check if they were going to show up. Right. But
I love the practicing the approach 100%. I think that's something that a brand new person, and practicing answering questions. Chris Ryder recently sent me a list of questions that he gets that are regular questions, common questions from customers, and then he wrote down responses and he memorized it. So it's examples like this, you guys, that I'm sure Terence has used in the past too. That you can, if you're brand new, there are things that you can do to make yourself an expert in a very short period of time, and those are some ideas, right? Something else is obviously, attending events, attending trainings. That's going to teach you how to become better. Watching videos like this from experts like Terence, resources, the team website. We post all those different resources on the team website, so you don't have to hunt them down. So, can you speak a little bit, Terence, as well to again, becoming an expert, knowing where to find resources? I want you to think back to your 5 years. There must have been times during those 5 years where you had to learn where resources were, you had to learn how to do a quote, you had to learn some of these very fundamental basics. And I guess what I'm asking is, instead of someone taking a year to do this, there's 5 or 6 things that they could do in a week or 2 weeks that would make the end of the month a whole lot better. Just practical things like knowing where to find the raid, and simple things like that, that a brand new person, just fundamental skills that will level up their customer acquisition.
Yeah, for sure. I really like using the UCA Helps website. So it's UCA Helps with an S .alberta.ca. That website is designed by the Alberta government to provide full transparency into the energy sector for Albertans. So it's a great resource to use as a third-party tool. Where, as an example, last month in August, our electricity rate and natural gas rate, if you were to use the cost comparison tool in the province of Alberta for an average consumption customer, we were the best option. Didn't have the lowest rate, but we were the better option because we don't charge all these extravagant admin fees and special contract fees and this and that fee. So even though we didn't have the lowest rate, we had the best deal for the majority of customers in the province. Being able to show people that is a huge leverage point in the conversation, because this isn't Terence telling you, this is the Alberta government telling you. Right now, don't think that this is the end all be all having this website, because right now we're not the lowest rate for electricity. We're still very competitive, right? But and that's okay. Again, use the tools to maximize your showcase, right? So right now we're the best on gas. Look how competitive we are, and it's a fixed rate. Well, what about power? Power, we're still really, really good, depending on where you're coming from, right? Let's take a look at your bill. I always like to leverage their bill as the point of proof, because that will tell me everything about their consumption, what their current rate is, how they're being billed, the structure of their company right now, like what their admin fee is, transaction fees, all that stuff. You'll see. And once you have that in hand, now you can compare and say, hey, you see this transaction fee here? We don't have that. You see this $30 admin fee? Ours is $6.85. You see what your subtotal looks like here? This is what our subtotal would have been using your exact same consumption. And that now becomes a matter of fact. There is no debate here. It's math. And so, I don't know how to sell energy, but I understand basic math. And I feel that, understanding the human psychology of what people are really looking for is going to ultimately determine whether if you sign up that customer or not. Because I've had customers that have become my customer not because we were the cheapest. And even on the bill comparison itself, we weren't saving them money. But again, having that customer service point is massive. And I feel that you should never lose focus of the fact that we're in a people's business. Customer service is paramount, right? So